Welcome to ES Ascension News. Timelines Shift. Dear Ascending Family, we are nearing a time of more visible and tangible changes for the planet and for the collective consciousness of humanity. For those of us who are able to participate consciously in this process, these changes are very encouraging, even as the workload feels like it is increasing. For those who are not able to consciously participate, they will be participating nonetheless. As planet Earth shifts her station of identity and moves into her soul embodiment, all those who keep their bodies will make this transition with her. We may soon witness a collective dark night of the soul as humanity unknowingly moves onto a higher frequency platform, causing all that has been unseen, unhealed, and unintegrated to bubble to the surface. As chaotic as this may appear in the outer scape, the pressures being applied are essentially supportive. In this newsletter, we will delve deeper into the mechanics of this unfolding process in order to better understand how we might best participate with these changes at both micro and macro levels. There are many subtle force reconfigurations occurring at the quantum level of the planetary mainframe that are changing the way the external and collective energy fields organize and manifest into the world. This has shifted the way the original human race blueprint relays its intelligent information into the collective consciousness fields of Earth. When the collective fields shift in this way, it means there has been a frequency shift in the collective agreement that impacts the overall consciousness evolution on the planet. Therefore, the timelines shift. As current timelines shift, this also shifts the coordinate location and energetic contents of the past and future timelines existing on the Earth plane, all at the same time. There are powerful infusions of plasmic light and new time codes that are filtering onto the Earth as we pass through the Silver Gate. An intersection point exists between two circuit paths, the path of the Sun and galactic equator, which opens a gateway in between the Taurus and Gemini constellations. As the Sun transits through Gemini, the transmission of its zodiac principle greatly influences the Earth body, and therefore influences the behavior in the collective consciousness of humanity. Currently, the pressures are high to synthesize the pairs of opposite that exist in the world of forces, to evolve beyond the lower density black substance that has been buried in the collective consciousness fields of the Earth. A lot of that black substance has been manifested into timelines from embedded alien architecture, which imitate the Mother's creation principle, and is what the dark entities tend to hijack. The building up of pressure in between these opposing forces and groups is reaching its peak, which is bifurcating or splitting apart timelines. This is greatly amplified in the collective fields, especially during the summer solstice through mid-July, as planetary timelines shift. The new timelines are to transcend the previous histories of alien hybridization and the destructive victimizer programming that has been installed in the lower collective consciousness. These new timelines are similar to an airplane runway that is designed to help bridge the current reality of the Earth, and that is the result of the accumulated energies of the past destructive histories with the negative alien agenda, in order to connect with the higher reality potentials of the divine human on the future Earth. We are on the runway that leads to our higher reality potentials in the future timeline now. Not everyone is on the same timeline. Try to remember this fact to help bring greater comfort when experiencing intense, sudden, and spontaneous life-altering changes that are more likely to occur during this time. Corrections are being made to the current collective human DNA imprint that is reconnecting new future memories, therefore new timelines, into the various planetary regions and within the crystal caverns. These areas hold the histories of the seedings on the Earth, along with the entire genetic record and the history with the planetary 12 tribes. The planet's lower dimensional frequency bands and their energy vortices are rolling up and dissolving into the Grail points, which changes the species memory records. As timelines shift, it changes previous trigger events recorded throughout history, and thus has a chain reaction that changes future memories in the ancestral and genetic code of the planetary tribal identities. The planetary architecture is transmitting the ancient history of humanity's true origins from the ancient builder races, as the original instruction set is transmitted from the awakening Albion body. Our species memory goes much further back, before the seedings of the planetary tribal identities. This informs the collective consciousness field and other non-human species that humanity did not come from the Anunnaki or other off-planet races, or those races that were involved in genetically modifying and cloning the human genome in the past. The Albion and Cathar body hold the Holy Father and Holy Mother principles in the earth. As these bodies gradually unify, they are releasing more original coding into the collective consciousness fields, which contain the true identity of the ancient builder races or the guardian host. This event directly changes many of the histories and timelines that are recorded upon the earth. Immortal versus eternal being. As the Albion body awakens, the genetic code of the human body's history throughout the timelines reveals alien hybridization and DNA unplugging as a temporary Earth experiment required to rehabilitate or transit immortal, regressive entities at the end of the ascension cycle. This dark history spun out the false timelines and artificial intelligence programs and the phantom matrix areas that are the result of the accumulated species memories of the regressive races. The negative alien agenda races downloaded their predator mind into the third-dimensional Earth in order to take over the collective consciousness or global brain, and then gradually take over human bodies that have eternal coding imprints. During the ascension cycle, we had the window of opportunity to track the artificial intelligence infiltration in the groups of immortal regressive entities to its point of origination and causal event in the timelines. Most all of these regressive entities in the negative alien agenda are, at some point in their timelines, AI infected and assimilated. This reverse engineering planetary grid project had to take place on the third dimensional Earth plane in order for this corruption to be inoculated and finally eradicated in the future timelines, and to stop this infection from fully spreading in the universal time grid. The genetic experiment attempted to genetically bond with over 20 immortal extraterrestrial races' DNA code through alien implants, with the original eternal human DNA code. Observation to track the genetic experiment reveals how the war over timelines has impacted multiple species to choose as a collective race to be immortal rather than choose the path of evolution to become eternal. We are remembering how to return to living in our true form as an authentic human, as an ancient, eternal, and infinite God source being. Our eternal source, diamond sun body, ultimately overrides all hybridized, extraterrestrial, or other species' DNA code when it is resurrected during the ascension cycle. To resurrect our divine and eternal source body, we must obey the natural laws of the universe, the law of one. The override of alien implants and their genetic modification that created the regressive hybrids as well as damaged the time cycles has begun. This rehabilitation is made available through the return of the Mother Arc principle, the blue plasma pulsing into the earth from the aquiline sun. Shifting into second harmonic universe. The pinnacle of the ascension cycle marks the end of the 3D collective timelines on the Earth. As the planet is moving into higher frequencies that are located in a future time-space, it is shifting the planetary consciousness into a future dimensional octave. This skips the entire planetary consciousness field, therefore, the collective human consciousness, into future timelines that resonate with much higher dimensional frequencies. Many of us on the ascension timeline have already transcended these lower dimensional timelines. What is important to discern is that this is a planetary event that is impacting everyone on the Earth and beyond. At the end of 2017, the planetary body is shifting into the higher frequency band that is located in the next harmonic universe. This event will change the planetary coordinates, planetary timelines, thus changing where the planet is actually located in universal space-time. The collective consciousness in the planet has been shifting through dimensional frequency bands quite regularly during the ascension cycle. However, what portends this will be a major collective consciousness shift is that the planet is rolling up the lowest 3 frequency bands, the first dimension, second dimension, and third dimension, into the higher frequency bands in the next harmonic universe. This means that the lower 3-dimensional frequency bands will cease to exist in the planet. All that will remain is the frequency accumulation that the collective inhabitants generate in their own consciousness, which are the energies that form from their own mental beliefs, behaviors, and actions. The people that remain in the third-dimensional consciousness after this shift will find themselves increasingly uncomfortable, extremely pressurized, and unhappy. Thus, many will feel the squeezing pressure to transform rapidly through the alchemical theme of polarity synthesis, which helps to bring completion to these old karmic patterns from the past, if we are willing to let them go. This purging process will add or subtract the required blueprint patterns that we may need to meet these new coordinates in the Earth grid and to help clear out the unstable or dark force influence in our lives. We are being purged deeply, and the remaining content is processed into higher light and consciousness to be stabilized and synthesized into the body in order to improve energetic coherence and spiritual strength. Our responsibility now is to practice unconditional love to all that we see, and to see everything and everyone around us as connected to the unified whole. At the same time, we make clear intentions of where we place our consent in higher authority. This loving intention and compassionate practice will keep our heart open and aligned to the source field and will make the transition much more comfortable. The deep reconfiguration that is transpiring within the planet's holographic geography is effecting the operation of stargates, power vortices, ley lines, and ray force transmissions. As a result, this trickles down into the collective consciousness of the human race, directly impacting the consciousness functions of the human light body, spiritual identity, and timelines. The macrocosm architecture is undergoing a radical shift, and this in turn manifests a chain reaction that profoundly alters the configuration of the human energy field and light body. Events that profoundly alter our energy field produce radical changes in our lifestyle and relationships. Timelines for transcendence. These recent transmissions have set up new future time vectors that impact locations and coordinates recorded throughout time, and thus it shifts the individual and group consciousness timelines. Some of the group consciousness timelines undergoing radical shifts are connected to the planetary tribal affiliations, refugee races, and the fallen Melchizedek infiltrations in the Hebrew and Essene tribe hosting history. The fallen Melchizedeks were being run by Luciferian imposter spirits through the victimizer archetypes, used to control others through the false king of tyranny belief systems. Some of these tribes or races have to make amends with the Earth people as a result of their participation, which resulted in the genocide and blood sacrifice of Earth groups, and subjecting them to the servitude of fallen angelics. We are being transported through timelines as the opportunity is given to us to transcend our limitations by seeing our unhealed issues that keep us tethered to the lower energies in the third dimensional timelines. As we are being pushed rapidly through old timelines, it can feel that we are being pummeled with dark energies of past obstacles, but it is important to recognize why this is happening and to not give up. Many of these dark obstacles are held in place by fallen angelics. We have to face them and see their painful emotional theme in order to ask of our heart what we may have bargained away in an effort to not see the larger truth. If we can get to that deeper theme of truth, we will see the causation and dissolve the energy, which then ceases to be an obstacle. Now we can reach higher points of transcendence, elevating us to rise above these dark obstacles that previously manifested as blockages in our highest expression and purpose. In order to access the resources available to help transcend old timelines in limiting situations, we must be willing to put forth the effort and time to heal ourselves, to see the core truth in the matter, and forgive the past patterns in order to release them. As we reaffirm our spiritual connection and dedication to practicing unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness, we are able to transcend many of the obstacles and miasma that accumulated between lifetimes, directing healing and transcendent energy to other identities, while healing aspects that may be trapped in other timelines. Dissolving lower dimensional layers. The process of dissolving the lower dimensional energy layers within the consciousness field and transmuting their particle content into the next dimensional band of frequency is a part of the mechanics of ascension. As the planetary body or human body evolves through these multiple levels of bands of frequency, the energetic layers within the aura progressively undergo transmutation of form. Once a personal energy field has accreted most of the frequency bands from the dimensions that compose one harmonic universe, the energy layers that correspond to these lower dimensions begin to dissolve. The particles contained within the dissolving auric layers open into the auric layers of the next highest dimensions, which are in the next harmonic universe up. These are the ascension dynamics by which humanity and consciousness progressively evolve from one dimensional span of experience to the next. The frequency activations are a natural part of the light accretion and consciousness evolution process, and occur as the pulsation rate of particles in the lower dimensions speeds up into the rhythms of the next dimensional frequency bands. Some of us have noted for many years now that our lower energy centers were shifting and chakra membranes were dissolving. The main energy centers are still present, yet are newly circuited to run vital forces throughout the body's entire system of glands, organs, and meridians more effectively. The chakra cones eventually become absorbed into the higher consciousness aspects of the body and reconfigured within the auric energies completely. This same transmutation process has become visible in the outer fields as it's occurring in the planetary body, as these lower energy centers are dissolving in the collective fields. The planetary body is transmuting its third dimensional form in order to prepare for the upcoming alignment in the next time cycle. Transmutation of the 3D forms. This amplifies all of the energetic polarities on the globe. So for some, this shift amplifies the inner darkness, while for many others, it greatly amplifies the inner light and spiritual support. This changes the atmospheric layer of the planet's magnetic field, as well as the magnetic tone resonance that emanates from the inner core of our planet. This changes the magnetic resonances that are related to the collective consciousness thought forms and archetypes that are held in the global brain. This also means the core foundation of the principles of matter are also being altered and changed now, which can radically shift our experiences and memories in matter, altering memories as they were recorded in time and space. Things that we have known or have remembered as our memories from the past may start to alter themselves and feel differently, as if they were another emotional experience entirely. As we shift into new timelines, we also shift the focus of our consciousness, which directly impacts our identity evolution throughout all timelines. This may shift the alignment or embodiment process we undergo with our higher spiritual identity. It is possible for Earth inhabitants to reconnect with the stage of consciousness development that is connected to one of their spiritual identities in future time. At each stage of consciousness evolution, depending on the pieces that have been reconnected, they may identify with their soul identity, monadic identity, or avatar Christ identity, which allows the eternal self to fully govern the body on the earth with divine will. When we intend to evolve into the infinite and eternal self as our true identity, we become harmonized and aligned with the ascending God sovereign free timelines of the cosmic sovereign law. Preparing for 2017. Many of us have been preparing for the planetary alignment into the next harmonic universe at the end of 2017, which has required many planetary grid workers to clear out multiple timelines, devices, and implant structures that are recorded in the collective consciousness fields, either from the accumulated past miasmatic energies or that were created with artificial intelligence. This 5-year window is very important in meeting the mission upgrade deadline for the planetary anchoring into the new collective consciousness timelines at the end of 2017. In order to meet this deadline, the planet is required to have an increase in the base threshold of frequency that is held within the consciousness of the people that make up the collective consciousness agreements on the planet. At the end of 2017, the planet undergoes a precise measurement of the quantum field, which directly impacts the future evolution timelines for all of the inhabitants when they move through the consciousness corridor. Effectively, the Earth body will be anchored into new time and space vectors in the future dimension that is located within the fifth dimensional frequency band timelines. This shift in location will directly impact the collective consciousness agreement, although many of the population will be unaware consciously that this major shift has occurred. During the bifurcation cycle, the planetary body has gradually undergone subatomic shifting in the lower fields of the particle structure, which forces collapse in the lower dimensions and rolls them up as the entities are transited out and the leftover energies merge with the next octave of higher harmonic frequencies. As a result, the point in time and space where the planetary body is located and the time continuum in which we exist as a collective consciousness is being moved into the next harmonic universe. Therefore, the collective consciousness will be subjected to the laws governing the energetic fields in that new space-time. Those of us on the ascending path have already made this consciousness shift beforehand, while we are coexisting on the planet with many people that are still maintaining the lower energies that descend with the third dimensional timelines. So the split in the timelines and frequency schism are existing in parallel to each other. Yet each person that represents either the upward or downward momentum of the energetic spiral is actually located at a different point in the timeline. Their station of identity is located at a different point in the time-space continuum. The collective fields of planet are scheduled to move into the soul timelines of the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional fields of the next harmonic universe. For people on the earth that have not yet evolved to the point where they have dissolved their chakra membranes, the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional wave spectrum will gradually replace and become connected into the lower energy centers where the first, second, and third chakra previously existed. The position of the soul matrix will fully embody in the core of the human body, eliminating the barriers between the solar plexus and heart. Many of us don't have the lower chakra configurations anymore while we are existing on the earth plane. This planetary event changes the chakra energy center configuration in the earth and in individual people based upon their spiritual integration and unique genetic arrangement. Collapsing 3D timelines. In the creational structure of harmonic universes, there are two timelines per dimensional frequency band. As the planet is moving into the next scale of the higher harmonic structure, the 6 timelines that existed within the lower 3 dimensions are rolling up into the next harmonic, so they cease to exist in the same frequency band. This poses a variety of new consciousness experiences for people on Earth that will impact memories, other identity lifetimes, and other historical recordings that were made to the past or future timelines. As many different people on the earth are existing at different levels on the scale of spiritual evolution, where their base frequency stabilizes in their light body determines their timeline and future spiritual direction, whether they are consciously involved in that decision or not. People who are not yet on the ascension path, but are in spiritual agreement with the collective consciousness shift, if they stay incarnated on the earth, they move into the next harmonic universe will deepen their soul bond within their physical body, therefore placing them on their soul timeline. This will be true for the majority of the current collective consciousness field. However, the metamorphosis that occurs at the earliest soul initiation to open the heart, when there is unresolved pain recorded there, can be very confusing for people that do not have emotional healing tools or spiritual ascension context. This will thrust many earth inhabitants into experiencing the dark night of the soul, and the planetary landscape in the earlier stages of this shift may feel quite chaotic and dark, as many people will be unexpectedly plunged into communing with the higher frequencies in order to purify themselves of painful lower vibrations. For those people that are already soul integrated, the new foundation to draw upon will allow much easier access into higher monadic frequencies, making it much easier to accomplish. The move will deepen the monadic bond within their physical body, therefore placing them on their monadic identity timeline. At the time of full monadic body integration, the chakra membranes dissolve and the light body structure begins to change into an orb body that accretes the source field or plasma waves. When we energetically evolve and move up in dimensional frequency bands, We are exposed to more dimensional octaves, therefore more potential timelines. However, in the range of polarities that may exist as potential consciousness experiences, there is only one timeline that is the highest expression of our spiritual identity, and that manifests the fulfillment of our heroic probability. Within the future timelines are stations of identity, commonly called soul, monad, and Christos self. These spiritual identities comprise light body parts, or whole spiritual bodies of our forgotten future selves. These are spiritual energetic bodies that hold our consciousness, intelligence matrices, our mind matrices, and that make up our spiritual identity. We are designed to reclaim these spiritual energetic pieces during the ascension cycle. This is why those on the spiritual ascension path continually experience their energetic healing by meeting the cellular memories that surface for compassionate witnessing at different stages of evolution in the multiple timelines. As we move through the series of timelines in each dimensional octave, we reclaim our spiritual identity while recoding and changing the artificial or false reality from interfering with our continued consciousness expansion. We connect with our lost aspects to merge with these timelines, which allow us to reclaim and recollect our spiritual bodies, clear negative forms, clones, and artificial intelligence. As we clear false identities and inorganic architecture from suppressing and impairing our consciousness, we are extracting the alien enslavement programming and clearing implants in order to embody our true inner Christos spirit. Collective consciousness processing. Many starseeds and indigos are experiencing collective consciousness processing or planetary miasma clearing more than usual, because most of the collective consciousness on Earth has been stuck on the lower dimensional timelines. These areas must shift in order to meet the planetary alignment at the end of 2017. As many of us are aware, these areas that make up the third dimensional, lower dimensional wave spectrum direct the primary frequencies of mind control and alien implants into the collective unconsciousness fields. This intersects with the future timelines, potentially corrupting them. These alien distortions are being plucked out of the field, and this extraction can abruptly change the timeline's probable future direction. We still have many human beings that are reliant on false alien architecture that create false ego identities. This mind control architecture has compromised their lower energy centers, making it hard for these groups to raise their internal vibration. Those groups of people that have been implanted with ET agendas that have been working to corrupt these future timelines are undergoing review by Emerald Guardians. Certain rehabilitation and hosting agreements for these refugee races who still refuse to cooperate to undergo shifting in 2017 are currently being terminated. Entities that have been hitchhiking on the backs of starseed and indigo people are systematically getting called upon for review of actions and consequences. This results in the removal of hosting agreements with a variety of off-planet races, which manifests into abrupt terminations of working collaborations that were made between human and non-human groups. This apparently is required to help raise the overall frequency of the collective consciousness grids, and to help the groups of star people that have a high internal frequency but have been saddled with energetic burdens of hosting regressive rehabilitation in the lower earth fields. The way the starseed and indigo groups help to rehabilitate corrupt coding on the earth grid is shifting. It appears many of these off-planet ET groups will undergo transiting to force them to abandon the time continuum they had been promoting here, moving them out of this system entirely. These timelines are fallen and dissolving, which is necessary due to the damage they manifest to the overall consciousness system. This is upsetting to these off-planet groups because when their timeline is lost, their genetic code is lost. However, eventually, since these groups have been involved in biological hacking, that timeline has nowhere to evolve, and they are assimilated with artificial intelligence in the future. They lose their bodies in the way that they have been formed from hybridizing with the DNA of cloned humans, which is what they use to create their temporary forms in order to hold up their timeline of existence. Without a form body to move around in space-time, they become totally dependent on the mercy of the guardian host to find them new bodies to inhabit. As we are being shifted into a different time-space continuum, as we move into that relative balance of a higher expression of frequency of light and plasma, we have the meeting point of the polarities existing within that field of energy. Some of the polarities we must meet are in the forms of alien architecture or ET groups. When that new frequency light meets in that dimensional band where that timeline is located, we must clear the obstacles or dark energies, including entities that have existed there. Some of these entities are attached to us, feel they own or can claim us for whatever reasons. Thus, a tremendous amount of effort to heal the collective consciousness distortions in the third dimensional timelines that are corrupted by alien architecture has been heightened over these past months. As the collective consciousness timelines are moving into the fifth dimensional soul timelines, it has required many grid workers to help clean up the 5 and 10 base coding used to power up the satanic architecture and dark mother on the planet. This coding is used to reverse electrons, such as Metatronic code, reversal 55 coding, and writing reversal code in the black magic grids. Metatronic coding uses 5 and 10 based math that is used to manipulate black magic grids, which is where these dark entities and extraterrestrials have gathered much of their energetic power. These black substance fields are used by human and non-human black magicians to conjure subtle energetic forces and direct dark forces like curses, hexes, entities, and negativity towards people. When this kind of negativity is being directed to a human, it is because they want to steal something of value from our consciousness body. Usually it is a body part, life force, or sampling of our DNA. As we move into the higher dimensional fields on the planet, we all know the standard plan of psychic attack from the negative hierarchical forces and imposter spirit forces. There's a lot of smash and grab, thuggery, and mafia-like behavior happening with these hierarchies on the grid at this time, on their way out. They are losing control over key people that they had on their payroll. Thus, their ability to control is waning in the overall planetary consciousness architecture, so they focus on hijacking weak and traumatized individuals to carry out destructive events, like blood sacrifice killings. As we are undergoing that shift into the next platform, it requires witnessing and clearing a certain level of fifth dimensional code distortion that was existing in reversal networks. The reversal networks act as the dark link made between the third dimensional timelines carrying over corruption into the next harmonic universe timelines. Reversal networks. A reversal network is collecting life force from the collective fields of all Earth inhabitants and creating more black force and miasm in the planet by sending energetic currents into reversal patterns on the planetary grid network. We can refer to that reversal pattern as an anti-life pattern, which also means the anti-Christ pattern. When collective life force is moving in the reversal patterns, it creates blockages that disconnect that person from the organic supply of eternal energy that is accessed from within their own spiritual body. Instead, that life force energy is being collected and harvested for certain preferred groups on the earth. Generally, for those who keep the reversal networks running for the negative alien agenda. As an example, the NRG grid is a harvesting station of global life force that exists in the center of the United Kingdom. As the Albion body awakens, it starts to disrupt the function of this specific reversal network, and it gradually collapses sections of its operational structure. Additionally, there are many Black Heart reversal networks scattered in the main cities, generally the bigger cities on the planet throughout the Earth. Black Heart reversal networks feed into other types of alien architecture designed to oppress the collective consciousness, such as holding planetary crucifixion implants in a geometry pattern called the Rosy Cross. Reversal networks are held on the planetary grid by bi-wave geometry systems that run on the low-frequency energies that are generated in the masses. In our planet today, we have levels of geometric architecture that are based on bi-wave geometry that have been installed in the planetary brain to create static nets and reversal fields. The artificial intelligence architecture collects energy, harvests it, and sends it to off-planet sources or to their preferred people here on planet Earth that are carrying out their control agenda. So those energies are collected and basically given with preference to humans or non-humans that serve the control and enslavement agenda. As reversal networks are gradually taken offline, the feed line of the parasitized energy throughout the food chain stops, essentially starving them by denying them access to the collective human power source. Although this is very positive for the planet and the collective human consciousness, it escalates the forces of chaos in the field from desperate entities. Clearing personal timelines. Although time does not exist and is a construct located within the layers of dimensional bands of frequency that make up the universal time matrix, our accumulated memories are recorded in our mental bodies, and that content functions in space as timelines. Therefore, our accumulated consciousness memories are holographic light images that appear in the dimensional frequency band our identity is located in, and are recalled in a linear sequence like watching a movie. The constructs of timelines throughout our stream of consciousness are organized in these holographic images that record memories. The images of our memories will be unique to the way we each experience them relative to our feelings, sensations, and perceptions of that moment in time. Thus, timelines are extremely relative to understanding that the causal events recorded in our memories can either trigger expansion or contraction of our consciousness bodies, which can alter or change the timeline we are on. The Earth has a problem with dark entities implanting false memories in people's timelines in order to exert control over the person's belief systems and to emotionally manipulate that person. We call this phenomena of implanting false memories and false images a holographic insert. These inserts can be cleared easily from one's consciousness record when they are identified and understood as falsified records. We move through the series of timelines in each dimensional octave to reclaim our consciousness identity, while recoding and changing the painful, obsolete, or false reality from interfering with our continued spiritual growth. If we do not clear the past issues recorded as memories in our timeline, we will repeat the same patterns until we learn the spiritual lesson, or clear the trauma of the original causal event. Everything repeats itself in the person's timeline until the spirit of the person resolves the energetic conflict, issue, or trauma that is recorded in their consciousness memories. We must communicate and work with our higher spiritual consciousness in order to achieve clearing of personal timelines. This is not a skill of the ego, but a function of the higher spiritual selves. When we clear and thus change the past timeline memory, while in the present moment, we change the current timeline that we have been traveling. This allows for the creation of a new timeline and an improved future direction to travel upon for the consciousness life stream. When we clear the past memories, we move outside of the accumulation of a past trauma timeline, and this changes the person's future timeline in the present moment in order to align to a much higher reality of spiritual expression. A timeline is a linear sequence through which all consciousness activity has been accumulated into potentials for probable realities and future expressions. On this planet, when we're dealing with the construct of timelines, we are dealing with the horizontal mental fields that control what we experience as time moving forward. And that gives the illusion of moving from point A to point B. For each person and each group body, there are a series of recorded trigger events which build up in the linear timeline of multiple consciousness experiences in space. These all conjoin to formulate into the probable outcomes or realities that can exist in a person's timeline. If we can recognize a trigger event in our personal timeline, such as a personal trauma that impacted us negatively, we can go back to that trigger event in time with the intent to clear out and heal the event and the trauma. This clearing simultaneously changes the present and future timeline into a more positive reality outcome. This is similar to understanding that we have the power to edit our own memories in our personal holographic movie. To understand the clearing of personal timelines, think of the accumulated emotional experiences that our consciousness has recorded throughout our spiritual blueprint body that translates into our current expression of identity and life experience. All of the accumulated memories that are made up from the consciousness experiences that we have had in space are then organized into linear sequences of time, and these make up the sum total of our personal timeline and personal identity. What we experience in current time is the result of all of our accumulated memories throughout space, and that gives form to everything that we are experiencing in this moment. Although all consciousness memories from all identities are already recorded throughout the universal timelines in our personal blueprint, when we are in the present moment of awareness, we can change any event or trigger in the personal timelines by erasing their negative impact upon our consciousness. This changes our blueprint by erasing the negative event in our memories. A negative impact is caused when we have been fractured from pain and soul damage, and we must find and reintegrate our spiritual body pieces that were scattered in that timeline in order to heal. These spiritual pieces are found and reclaimed during emotional healing by applying unconditional love and forgiveness. In every moment of now, we have the power to change any of our memories recorded throughout time from the past, present, and future. In order to erase the negative impacts, we have to see the truth of what actually caused the trigger event of pain, fear, or trauma, and then see how this impacted our thoughts and behaviors in the present time. When we can see the truth of what really happened, and this is called witnessing, then we can truly forgive the events. Through forgiveness of ourselves and others, we reclaim our fractured pieces, and then we can let go of the pain completely. With extreme trauma, it may take several applications of revisiting the trigger event in layers of the trauma in order to heal a spiritual fracture that finally allows the shift in the personal timeline. Sometimes, this may mean we cast our burden to God to extract out the areas of the pain, blockage, or attachment. When the extraction of layers of negativity occur, we open a new space in our energy field to be filled with the inner spiritual light, thus healing the areas which experienced the hurt and pain. Throughout the personal timeline, there are different events that have happened in time that impacted our past, present, and future versions of probable reality experience. Many of these events have triggered changes of direction in our life. Many times, we will need to revisit the event where the pain, trauma, and fear-based emotions were created in our timeline that negatively impacted our future. Many times these will reveal themselves to be major events that are recorded in the collective consciousness timelines that have impacted the entire human race. Thus, all of humanity shares that same pain that you have experienced in the planet's recorded memories. Human beings are actually time travelers, and once we develop our meditation skills and mental focus, we can actually influence and shape time and collective consciousness. We can return back into the timelines to clear out the destructive records or negative impacts of certain events and identities. We may transit entities that we may find are stuck at that particular position in time, along with the parts of ourselves that we have recollected to be reclaimed by the source light. When that negativity is removed, when that pain is erased from the past, it changes the future time and direction for that person or group. When many people in a group are clearing personal timelines, it impacts the collective consciousness timelines recorded in history. Once we are clear and confident with that understanding, we have the inner knowing that as we dedicate ourselves to serve our highest consciousness, we are able to make influential changes for the highest good of all people. What is truly healing for ourselves is truly healing for other people. They may not always see that yet, as many times we may be forced to see where darkness has hidden inside of us in order to come into greater embodiments of light. As we commit to the spiritual path of unity, we are taught how to properly balance that growing energetic power within ourselves so that we do not abuse that spiritual power. We are constantly being tested in our moral integrity, and then we are given more spiritual power. The power over others that shows itself in the form of manipulation, abuse, and brute force on the earth is not spiritual power. Once we go through processes of spiritual initiation, we are led to develop levels of self-mastery, and as the result, we earn certain morals and spiritual ethics, which become an integrated part of us. These virtues and ethical qualities become inseparable from the way we direct our energies throughout the timelines of our consciousness experience. Sometimes we may get to a certain stage in which we need to learn a spiritual lesson, to develop a higher ethic, or to develop a higher skill set of self-mastery in order to continue growing on the path of shifting timelines. Much of the context and terms found in this month's newsletter can be further explored in the Ascension Glossary pages and in previous newsletters. These resources are freely accessed by the public from the energeticsynthesis.com website. Please only take what is useful for your spiritual growth and discard all the rest. Thank you for your courage and bravery to be a truth seeker. Until next, stay in the luminosity of your avatar, Christos Sophia heart path. Please be kind to yourself and to each other with a loving heart.